Welcome one and all, it's time for a Kings of War battle report. We are back in business, baby. It's time for some red hot, sizzling, spicy, tender, succulent, moist, finger-licking good action on the Kings of War battlefield. 2,000 points, Plunder scenario, Abyssal Dwarves versus Ogres. So let's get rid of that thumbnail and look at this. It's a visual feast. Wrap your eyeballs around all this goodness. So of course Mr. Arrow is still here. You've got me down here. Got all kinds of graphics on the screen, logos. You've got scrolling text, social media shenanigans. You've got information on the video scrolling right here. This is just a non-stop rollercoaster ride of excitement already, and we haven't even got into the game yet. So, as you can see, hand sanitizer. This game was played under very safe circumstances. Both players were masked, hand sanitizer on standby, didn't touch any of the same things, stayed on opposite sides of the table. Boom, safety first. Let's do this. So, Plunder. Of course, that scenario. 5 objectives along the centre line. In fact, you can see some of them. Yah, and yah, and yah, and yah, and there's another one. Yah, somewhere. And 3 of them are worth 1 victory point. You hold them at the end of the game. And 2 of them, one selected by each player, are worth 2 points at the end of the game if you hold them. So you can pluck them from the ground and carry them around with your eligible units. And of course, Ogres, it's a scenario, kind of scenario they like, because pretty much all their units can handle these objectives. Whereas Abyssal Dwarves tend to have a few more individuals and war machines that can't really do anything with objectives like this, or can't score at all, in fact. So, we'll see if that gives the Ogres the edge or not. Got some people in the chat. We've got Chris and Raphael. Hello there. And I assume it's going to fill up as the time goes on here. So I will refer to the chat now and then. This is the first game that either of us had played for quite a while, quite a few months, so I expect there will be some mistakes in there, not only in visually on the screen, but also in my description of some of the encounters. There may be some errors as well. You can see the other objective there. You can actually probably see that the battlefield actually fills up this entire bit of the room here, so there's physically no way for either player to get round the other side without walking across the sofa. And you can see, look at that top-notch bit of red bubble merch there, the Andy 2d6 cushion. There is a Redbubble link in the description. So here we go. Let's get into the lists. So I've got some better close-ups of my army in a minute, but you can see the big bulk of it is in the middle there. Not much out on the flanks. And we'll start with the Ogres. So I've got the Ogre list over here. I'll tell you precisely what is what. We have some Red Goblin Scouts. There's another troop of those somewhere. And these are the Shooters, and I don't think they have any upgrades on them. Most of the units do, I think, in this army. So got this big blob in the middle, and that is a standard bearer, and I believe that is armed with the Loot of Insatiable Darkness. It is. And at the front here, with the flaming hands, we've got a warlock, and we've got another warlock over there. I can't remember which one's which, but they're quite similar. One of them has Drain Life, and it's Drain Life 5. One of them has Lightning Bolt. They both have Lightning Bolt, but one of them has the Boomstick. So combined with the ability to generate extra Lightning Bolt from their surroundings, one of them actually has Lightning Bolt 9, which is a bit too spicy if you ask me. See how I cope with that madness. And then these 2 big blobs of Ogres here. One of them would be the Berserker Braves, and they have the Brew of Sharpness, making them extra tasty. And Siege Breakers, who don't really need anything to make them even spicier. They're already pretty spicy. And 6 in the front, the Siege Breakers here, with those big shields. Over here, we've got this one. What is this guy here? It's an Ogre. Okay, that'll be the Berserker Bully then, presumably. And next to that, or in fact, is that one the Berserker Bully? Yeah, that's the Berserker Bully there. So this one next to the Boomers is actually the other Warlock. The Berserker Bully, which is him, has the Blade of Slashing. There's the other Warlock. 2 hordes of Boomers. You can actually see what they've got on them there. Chant of Hate and Blessing of the Gods. So elite, vicious. Very nasty. We've got a blaster here, which is going to be kamikazing in some of my troops and hoping to explode. And behind them, more Red Goblin Scouts. Onto the Abyssal Dwarves and the list that I have in front of me here. We've got some half-breeds. So, before I describe my list, we played 2 games. The other one will be reported on next week, hopefully. And across those 2 games, I wanted to fit in as much of my model collection for the Abyssal Dwarves as possible. I wanted to use practically everything. There was maybe 1 or 2 models that didn't make it into either list, but I've pretty much squeezed everything in between the 2 lists. So if there's anything you would expect to see that isn't in this game, it's probably in game 2. So, first of all, we have the half-breeds with Dwarven Ale. So they're out on the left flank, obviously. We've got a heavy mortar, got a half-breed champion, and he's got the Blade of the Beast Slayer, which is quite handy against ogres. There are some grotesques, a horde's worth of grotesques. They don't have any upgrades. There's gargoyles behind them, hiding, safety purposes. We've got 2 regiments of Immortal Guard with no upgrades. We've got the Hellfane with the Overmaster upgrade so that it has the aura of Wild Charge and it's got Inspiring as well. So I've surrounded it with infantry to try and get the benefits of that Wild Charge, which doesn't really help too much against ogres, but it does also give them Brutal, which is quite handy. And there's a horde of Decimators with Blessing of the Gods, so they're elite. We'll see whether that comes into play. The range on those things is a bit dicey though, because you do have to get pretty close. You have to generally get within range of the ogres charging you if you want to use weapons with that kind of range. Got another heavy mortar back behind those Immortal Guard. And over on the right flank we've got the Grotesque Champion, which... Oh, this Grotesque Champion has Blade of Slashing. Yeah, there it is. So, out on its own, just contesting some of the objectives. So, the one on the left is worth 1. The central and the one slightly to the left are worth 2. So this is the juice zone. So if you were to cut into this with a knife, it would just be endless victory point juices squirting out everywhere. And then the right-hand side of the battlefield, these 2 are both worth 1, which is not particularly exciting. So that's why I've only got 1 model over there, just to cause a bit of a nuisance, because otherwise the Red Goblin Scouts will just walk around picking them up unthreatened, and that would just be 2 free victory points. So I've got 1 model over there just as a bit of a deterrent. I don't want to get in too much of a fight because there's shooters over there as well. Turn 1, and you can see human hands in action. So the ogres have obviously elected to go first here. And this game did take place in a living room filled with guinea pigs. So there's just enough space for guinea pigs and a battlefield. But I thought, why not throw a couple of pictures of those in there? That should get some extra likes on the video. Speaking of which, how many likes have we got on here so far? Only 1. 6 people watching and only a single like. It's an outrage, frankly. Hopefully the guinea pigs will turn that round. They are, look at that, feasting on some hay. Okay, back to the battlefield. So everything's pushed up a bit, but I don't think they've got into range to be charged by the half-breeds over there. And short-range weaponry here isn't going to be in range to really threaten, but there are some lightning bolts to be thrown around and some shooters that are going to try and cause some devastation in the first turn. And let's see if that pays off. So, the shooters, 3 damage onto the Grotesque Champion, who is slightly taller than a hill. There is actually a piece of impassable terrain on top of the hill, but he can just be seen past it. 3 wounds on him, and then all the lightning bolt, just a billion lightning bolt. I think one has 9 and one has about 7. 6 maybe. Just an obscene amount of long range death attacks. 7 wounds onto the Grotesque Horde, but they've got regeneration, so they're quietly confident that that's not going to bother them too much. However, Waver on the Champion. Waver on the Horde, and that is not quite the worst possible start, but it's pretty bad. I would rather the roll was so insane that it was just going to kill them instantly, and then they could re-roll for having the half-breed champion next to them. But instead, they've become wavered. Wow, wow, wow. So, not a great start there, and considering the shooting... Is it a shooting superiority of the ogres? Probably. I've got a couple of mortars, but the boomers, lots of boomers, the shooters, and all the lightning bolt, and the drain life. I've got the decimators that are short range, and for me, it feels even shorter because I have to get to within the charge range of the Ogres to use it, whereas the Ogres, there's a lot of my units they don't have to be in danger from in order for them to use their weapons. And so I'd say the Ogres probably have the shooting edge. I do have the pistols on the Hellfane as well. So that's how the battlefield looks at the end of turn 1, and onto the Abyssal Dwarf turn 1. We're up to 2 likes now. So the half-breed champion has just flung himself up there. So if any of these guys want to shoot him, they're going to have to reposition themselves a bit and maybe touch the hill, which is going to make them visible over the hill. And here, not much movement going on there at all. So I just decided to close the gap on them and push up because the objectives are dead on the centre line. So the closer you can get to that with your troops, the more chance you have of picking them up, obviously. The half-breeds do not want to go into charge range of this thing, and they don't want to go into range to be shot by them either. But they don't care if they get charged by them because what are they really going to do? Even if they got really lucky and wavered them, then they've got the Dwarven Ale anyway. So I'm very confident that this unit is not a threat. Grotesque Champion decides to just back up a little bit, spin round, go backwards behind this piece of terrain so the shooters can't have another go at him next time. And this unit being stuck here is crumping my style. I don't want to move the gargoyles out just yet because they'll just be throwing their lives away. All it'll take is just one wound from a lightning bolt and they'll be dead pretty much. They're hiding still. Everyone else is heading up. If they want to multi-charge the Hellfane over a wall into the defense 6, inspired, then knock yourself out, Ogres. Hellfane pistols. 3 wounds onto this Warlock. Thought, you know what? Instead of going for the units, let's go for the things that are a threat right now and try and do some damage to them. So, pistol damage there. Don't know why there's a picture of this, because there's not going on there. The mortars don't hit anything this turn. And they're a bit limited in their targets. I would have liked to have shot past this unit of grotesques with one of them, because there's a mortar down here somewhere. But because they became wavered and they're pretty much stuck in that spot, means that the angle of fire is cut down significantly. More so than if I was able to move them up. Could have turned them sideways, but then they're going to be limited in where they can charge next time. So, on to turn 2, the Ogres. And you can see these guys, Goblin Scouts, have moved up to threaten my Grotesque Champion potentially. Everyone else is pushing up, obviously, and they're going to start unleashing more of their terrifying spells. And in fact, all those spells do some serious damage to this unit of Immortal Guard. 6 wounds, only 3 to the Hellfane, though, who is pretty much fine and won't be worried too much about that. However, these boomers. Now, I can't remember if this was played correctly or not at the time, or whether it even applies. So, the boomers have moved up with their leader point onto the hill to shoot the half-breed champion. Now, he's individual, and they're also not technically on the hill. So would that be a double modifier for the to-hit roll? If it should be, then I don't think that was applied, but I can't remember 100%. So anyway, 8 wounds done. I think this thing probably threw some grenades at him as well. He takes 8 wounds in total. I seriously cannot remember whether that was played correctly or not. And some more damage is done to these grotesques again. They're up to 7. They did regenerate a few wounds last time. Chris says, I think we only applied the individual. That's what I'm thinking, because it's a bit of a complicated situation with the way hills and other terrain works now. Like, if you move into it, then that turn, it still gives cover to anything that you're shooting at that's beyond it. And with a hill, you're not considered on the hill. So this hill should still be providing cover to the individual. But I seem to remember this thing did some of the damage here anyway. And unfortunately, the half-breed champion is dead. So always make sure you're applying all the correct modifiers, folks. Over here you can see that the Red Goblin Scouts charged into the half-breeds, 2 wounds, which is fine. They've got regeneration and should be able to kill them easily on the counter-charge. And what I'm pleased about, though, is that the Blaster didn't also move up, because now I can countercharge them, kill them, and then stay out of a dangerous place. I don't want to get charged by that with the blaster. So I'm thinking that thing definitely did target the half-breed champion. I'm very pleased that it chose to do that. Had the champion survived, I would have liked that. But I'm glad that it's not like here, or as far up as it can go pretty much. Because then if I were to kill them, I wouldn't be able to risk overrunning really. So I'd be stuck. Turn 2 for the Abyssal Dwarves. So the Grotesque champion is feeling a bit better about himself now, not so wavered, just hanging around the back here, staying out of the shooting arc of the shooters and going for this objective. I'm going to contest it with them. In the middle, the Decimators, who the Ogres actually backed away from slightly last time, so I wouldn't be able to get within shooting range of them. I've moved up a bit further this time, because it's all very well them backing up 1 inch and then me moving forward 1 inch to stay out of their charge range. But that means that they're going to be within striking distance of the objectives, and I'm not really, because they've got such a longer range of movement than any of my units. So I wouldn't fancy my chances of clearing off all the Ogres from the objectives in 1 turn if they were to wait till the end. So I push them up a bit. I keep them out of charge range of some of the units, so they're not going to be able to get triple charged, which would pretty much wipe them out immediately. So laying down the gauntlet there. Grotesques have moved up, getting ready to charge next turn, assuming they survive. Gargoyles have chosen to land in front of both the units of boomers, so that there isn't going to be any charging into the Grotesques, which would be bad. And if they want to shoot the Grotesques as well, then there would be cover applied. So with the half-breed champion who was out there, it's about here, what I wanted him to do, would have liked him to charge the blaster, maybe, and either kill that, allowing the half-breeds to then worry about what's going on in here, or charge into one of the boomer hordes so they can't shoot next turn and just get in their way. But he's dead, so that was the plan anyway. Half-breeds obviously kill the Red Goblin Scouts. The Mortars, well, what do? And the pistols combined, they do this much damage to the battle lines of the Ogres. So the Warlock is up to 6 wounds, and the Shield Breakers are up to 8, which is nice. So they're both what I call the danger zone. Anything that hits them, and there's a good chance they're going to die, unless they can get some wounds back with Drain Life, which they very well could. And I don't think either side is too disappointed with how it's going so far. I was a little bit disappointed, obviously, that my advance was slowed with the Grotesques from them being wavered in turn 1, but it hasn't ruined the battle line too much. Turn 3 for the Ogres. So they decide, because the triple charge isn't an option because of the precise distance away that I stayed with the Decimators, they decide to go for the double charge with the Berserker Braves and the Berserker Bully. He is hindered though, the Bully. So is that going to be enough to kill them? It's going to be close, especially inspired. I think my opponent was in 2 minds here whether to go for this or not, especially with the hindrance and the inspiring right there. So it's a risk, but if it pays off, then it could be a big deal. The other reason that maybe he wasn't going to risk it is because the Hellfane has Strider and is looking directly into this flank if they fail. So that would be bye-bye Berserkers pretty much there. And that would be nice. The Siege Breakers charge into the Immortal Guard on the other side of the Hellfane. They should survive that. That unit is hindered as well. That wall there. And the reason the Hellfane is behind the wall is because he has Strider, so if I have to charge across it, it's no big deal. Over here, let's see. Anything actually happen on this side? I think this thing might have backed away, maybe. Not sure. Shooters, what do they do this time? Wounds onto the Hellfane. So it's not at death's door yet, but it's creeping up there, and I don't have a way to heal it, actually. So 1 wound to the Gargoyles, which is from a lightning bolt. Quite poor lightning bolts when I do 1 wound though. But with Gargoyles, 1 wound is often enough. And look at this. All the shooty attacks, despite the cover provided by the Gargoyles, all the lightning bolts around here. 1 billion wounds onto the grotesques. And they're dead. And the gargoyles are dead on 1 wound as well. So, double splat. So the grotesques didn't get to fight. That's too bad. So, in the middle, and look at this. 15 wounds onto the decimators, which is very close. But they do manage to kill them, despite the inspiring 2. I think it just needed pretty average nerve rolls to kill them with that amount of damage. So, they are dead. However, I've still got options here, because this unit of Siege Breakers doesn't kill the Immortal Guard, so the Hellfane still has a juicy flank to go for. But I'm not that obsessed with flanking this unit, because they're already damaged. However, Defense 6 in the front means the Immortal Guard probably weren't going to kill them, so I suppose it is nice that I can get there. Not much going on that side. A couple of spicy units dead there. The Abyssal Dwarfs, which is not good, but how are we going to strike back in Abyssal Dwarf turn 3? So, the Grotesque Champion picks up an objective. The Mortars. The Mortars unleash, and I choose not to charge the Berserker Braves, because I actually said at the time, while we were playing, okay, something along the lines of which unit are the Mortars going to delete, so I won't bother attacking them. And Berserker Braves it was, and I think after not doing too much the first 2 turns, especially turn 1, they both missed entirely, but this turn, 3 hits I think it was on the Berserker Braves, and delete them. So very nice, and the Siege Breakers are deleted as well with this double charge. And I was in a bit of a dilemma here, because my half-breeds can't just stay back for the entire game and hide, because eventually I'm going to have to get to the objectives. And I need them in the battle here because the enemy is vastly outgunning me and out-unit numbering me as well. So I did push them up, because I want to be able to get into range to charge that thing, because that's the plan. I want to kill that, and then I can just forget about it, turn around, and then look at the rest of the battlefield and participate in the game again. However, the fact that I've had to position myself here means that I'm in range to be shot by them. So I don't want them to shoot the half-breeds. That's going to be death. Probably going to kill them with 1 round of shooting. Probably, yeah, because they're only defense 4, the half-breeds. So I'm not too confident in their survival at all. So this unit here, they had the choice of pivoting on the spot and making sure everyone's in the front, or overrunning and risking that this unit ends up in the flank. There's already 5 wounds on here. So with all the lightning bolts and the drain life and the boomers that are already here, if they choose to focus fire on this unit, it's dead anyway. So why not overrun if you can invite this thing to charge the flank? I'm more confident in the Hellfane's ability to survive the shooting barrage than I am in this unit to survive the boomers and the grenades. So I decide to overrun with this unit, and if they end up with this unit in the flank and getting charged, I'm willing to take that risk, and they do actually end up going the sufficient distance to get flanked. And it allows me to get further up battlefield as well, nearer these objectives. So, turn 4. The Berserker Bully decides to ignore this unit and head straight for the Mortars after they destroyed his buddies, which might be a good idea, considering, especially in the later turns as well, when you only need 1 mortar hit to potentially finish off a unit. You might want to take those out. The boomers do flank charge the Immortal Guard, which means the half-breeds are going to survive, most likely. So this unit's going to die, but I wasn't confident in their survival regardless. Shooters, and all the various attacks from around here, all the casters and the boomers target the Hellfane, get it up to 10 wounds, so it's probably going to die next turn. So I've got another turn to use it. Half-breeds take a bit of damage from the grenades, so you can see up to 5, with a round of boomer attacks on them from a horde. It's either brutal or elite horde as well. A vicious or elite horde, I should say. Then I wouldn't be confident that they would have made it out. They're one of my units that can actually delete ogres in 1 round, potentially. So I'm glad they're alive. The Immortal Guard are dead, but they They're already wounded and they can't do that much to ogres really. And I need to be killing things at this stage. So surrounded a bit here, so the Hellfane is going to have to kamikaze into something. What I wanted to do was kill this guy, charge him, land on the 2-point objective, pick it up, kill him, overrun. The boomers would turn around and shoot me, okay, but I would have had one of the objectives brought over here, and my opponent wouldn't have been able to claim it that turn. So it would have been resting on the ground. The last thing you want against ogres is their heroes just picking up objectives and running off and hiding, especially behind their units as well. Because I'm running out of ways to kill and chew through these things. So I didn't want guys like him and him picking up the tokens and running off, because I've got no way of going after them. Over on this side, it's not very eventful. Bit of a standoff over there. And the same could arguably be said here, but I am going to be able to charge that thing next turn and commence with the plan. I don't want to ignore it and move it into here, because then it's just going to come this way and attack the rear of the at some point, which would be terrible. Turn 4 for the Abyssal Dwarves. So, the Immortal Guard charge into the hero that was here and actually kill it, which is nice. I can't remember if it was a Warlock or the Standard Bearer. Or it might have been was it the Bully? Let's see who was there. I don't know. But it looks like they've killed somebody, or have they? That might be, are they his wounds? Yeah, I think they might have just turned round actually. I even remember. But Hellfane charges into this unit. Yeah, because there's the 3 ogre heroes. Oh no, that's not a hero, that's on the base. So, did they kill them? Yes, okay. Confirmation from my opponent in the chat there. They did kill the Drain Life Warlock. He's dead. Then they turn around to face this way, because that's where the bulk of the enemies are. And I don't want my life being drained in this turn. So, Hellfane does a bit of damage there. It's going to probably get flanked, but with 10 wounds on it, whatever hits it next turn is probably going to kill it anyway. So if you have a unit that's in that situation where it's pretty close to death and whatever hits it will kill it, don't worry too much about whether you're giving up a flank with it. Just try and take something out with you, unless you've got a way to heal yourself. Mortars. I think I just land 1 hit maybe on these boomers. A little bit of damage there, but not enough to worry them yet. Oh, so where I was going with this, when I said I wanted to charge him, my opponent decided that after combat with these guys, he was going to shuffle sideways after combat and rolled a 1. And as soon as he said it, I was thinking, that would be nice actually, because I want to get through there and pick up that token. But unfortunately, he only rolled 1, so he didn't go far enough for me to do that. So that's why I've got in here. Whether it would have been a game-winning move, I would doubt. But yes, that's the doorbell. Thankfully, I don't need to answer it because there's somebody else in the house. So, half-breeds. They kill successfully the blaster, as you'd expect, and then turn around to face the rest of the battlefield so they can come back into the action now. Grotesque champion, and these guys are just chilling out, staring at each other still. I don't mind if they charge me because it means they're not going for this token. And it's pretty close at this stage. Number of units is fairly close. The objective situation is a bit in the ogre's favour because they've got guys like this that can just dance straight onto an objective quite easily. Turn 5 for the ogres. So, attacking the Hellfane, the counter charge. And let's see what's going on. Some more. The other boomers are there. Looks like they flanked the Hellfane here. Not in this image. So this guy is hanging out behind this unit here. I think he's actually... Is he on an objective now? Let's see. Objective is there. He might well be on the objective there. Fuck. So these boomers decide, you know what, we're not going to flank the Hellfane because we're confident enough that we can kill it this turn, so we're going to go and shoot the mortar instead. which may well be a wise move. Just move. So the mortar is under attack here as well from the Berserker Bully, so both mortars could go down this turn. Nice at all. And the shooters and the Goblin Scouts get fed up of this kind of staring match against the Grotesque Champion. So looking at each other, and they decide, you know what, we're going to push forward because you're holding a token, Mr. Grotesque Champion, so you've lost your nimble. You're not speed 7 anymore, so you're not getting away from our sight unless you drop that token. Which says to me, what can I do about this? Do I drop the token and run away and let them come and pick it up? Do I charge one of them? If I want to charge this unit, I would have to drop my token first. So I decide, you know what, Grotesque Champion, you wouldn't have to get that lucky to kill that unit. You would need a little bit of luck, but it's not an obscene amount. So I decide I'm going to drop the token where I am. And then, because if the shooters wanted to get it, they would need to pivot in the middle of their moves. They wouldn't be able to do it in one turn, which basically takes them out of the game for 1 victory point. I drop it there, charge them, kill them, take their token, overrun out of the charge arc of the shooters. So I think that is the move I'm going to make here. Let me know if you have a better move, some alternative that you've got in your mind right now as you're watching. 3 damage to the mortar. And this guy with his spell as well. So, mortar dead. Hellfane dead. Takes more damage. Other mortar dead. So I'm running low on units now. Got the Grotesque Champion who's going to go for this ploy here. Which, because at the moment, is equal. And if I get killed, then he's just got more objectives than me. I drop this one, take that one, run away. That puts me up on the situation. I think it's difficult for me to hide while holding this objective now. I can't get out of their shooting arc without dropping. Over on this side, I've really only got the Immortal Guard and the Half-Breeds left, but they are primed and ready to strike now, and they are in charge range of the boomers. So, turn 5. Grotesque Champion, he does go for that plan that I mentioned, so that's the arc of sight there, so I would need to overrun 2 or 3 inches after killing them. But, as you can see, I only do 2 wounds, so not enough, so that part of the plan is not paying off. And that's the token that I dropped to attempt this plan. And down here, the half-breeds do actually kill those boomers, which is nice. But this guy has picked up the 2-point objective now. I think this is the army standard bearer. He's just hiding. And the Immortal Guard have turned round. So this is the guy I'm trying to chase down now. I've tried to position them, both units here, in such a way that he can't avoid them, because he won't be able to use Nimble while he's carrying the token. So he won't be able to pivot, move there, and then pivot, and then move, or he won't be able to move that way, then pivot, then move through the gap, or any of that shenanigan. So if he runs away that way, half-breeds are still going to be able to chase him down. So if he wants to get away, he would have to drop the token, and that would just allow me to pick it up. So I'm trying to trap him in, basically, with these 2 units. If he wasn't carrying a token, I wouldn't be confident of trapping him at all with his Nimble ability. And it's still pretty close, but the Ogres have the edge, I would say. The half-breeds essentially make it or break it, though. So turn 6, and another guinea pig shot. Look at this. And this should be a meme, really, shouldn't it? So the guinea pig is listening to what someone's saying, and then there's something really startling or shocking, and then this picture. I'm going to start making guinea pig memes, I think. And look at that beast at the water bottle, very sloppily. Okay, back to the action. So, this guy decides he is going to run away a bit, but I think he's put himself in a position so that when he gets charged by one of these, his boomers will be able to turn around and target whichever one of these units kills the standard bearer. Grotesque Champion is flanked by the shooters, which was the risk that had to be taken, I think, to try and crunch through there. So if he were to get double 1, that would be nice. And the Immortal Guard takes some shooting damage. Worried though. Grotesque Champion is dead, so it's all about the left flank for me now. This flank is toast, but I only had one unit there to begin with, so it's not a surprise. And that is how everyone is positioned. So this guy is holding a 2-point objective, I think. This guy is holding one. So if I can take out those 2 units before the end of the game, it gives me a really good chance. Turn 6. So the Immortal Guard decide to charge in. I'll show you. So they charge into the flank. The half-breeds decide just taking that objective isn't enough. So the half-breeds turn this way. They're going to chase him down while the Immortal Guard flank him and kill him. So the Immortal Guard have regenerated some wounds as well, which could be important, and have taken the 2-point objective. The half-breeds are facing this way, so that this guy, if there's a turn 7, he will not be able to escape from them, I determine. Because these woods are here, so he can't just go straight forward 10 inches while carrying the token. Not going to be able to escape. So if there's turn 7, should be able to catch him. However, that doesn't mean it would be an auto win if there's a turn 7 by any means, because there's still the boomers down there who could kill the Immortal Guard. There's still these units, they could get out of the way. The shooters are still very much in the game, they could target somebody over here. However, as you can see, there is not a turn 7. Finish on turn 6. So the Ogres have a 1-point objective here, and a 2-point objective here, and I've got a 2-point objective. So when that happened, I was thinking, is there something different I could have done with the Grotesque Champion? Could I have kept him alive and held on to an objective and got a draw out of it? And I was thinking, maybe not actually, because I think any way I tried to flee with him would have got him shot down anyway. So I think it was worth the risk to go for it. And who wants to attempt to play for draws anyway? It's crazy talk. So it's pretty even in terms of the victory points, just slight edge to the Ogres. The Ogres have got some more units left than the Abyssal Dwarfs. And it's the start of the game again there. So this is the end. Ogres reign supreme. I think we've got most of the rules correct considering we hadn't played for a while. And this list, it's rare that I take an Abyssal Dwarf list that doesn't have any golems in it. But as I described earlier, 2 games were played, and I wanted to fit in pretty much my entire model collection across the 2 lists. So in the next game, you'll see the likes of the golems, the greater golem, the ancient winged half-breed, and Susan as well. And in this game, it was pretty much about the infantry, the Hellfane, and the cavalry and large cavalry. But considering there weren't any golems, I think this list actually did all right. There were a couple of things that, had they gone differently, I would have been much more confident. If the Decimators hadn't been killed in one round by the double charge, one of which was hindered, then I would have liked to have seen them do something with the elite on them as well. But, like I was saying, with their range, I'm not sure they're the ideal unit to be going after Ogres with anyway, because you do have to put yourself in danger to actually use them. The Mortars did a pretty decent job. They killed off a unit, and it's just sprinkled damage here and there. Apart from that, I'm pretty sure the triple mortar is the optimum choice for anyone out there. But is it the fun choice? And don't we play this game for fun? Although, wouldn't the fun choice be not taking any mortars at all? Who am I to judge? So, any comments anyone wants to drop in there now for me to check out before this video ends? Otherwise, I'm going to wrap this one up in a moment. So, Hellfane. I've used it a few times now. I like it, but it's very expensive. If it was a little bit cheaper, I would say it was a really good unit. As it is, I think, even though it's just got piles of special rules all over it, it's difficult to shift. It's just a tiny bit more expensive than what I think would be in line with the rest of the army, I think. That doesn't mean I'm not going to use it. So tasty looking. But I think it's just slightly too expensive. Not a huge amount, but a little bit. Maybe if it had inspiring by default, didn't have to make a 25-point upgrade for it. But it's fun to use anyway. It's fun to have all those special rules to play with. Just a little bit on the expensive side. The Grotesque Champion, I'm not entirely sold on either. I prefer the Half-Breed Champion because, of course, individual, so more manoeuvrable. And also, the Grotesque Champion isn't even inspiring, not even to grotesques, which I find really bizarre. So, if the Grotesque Champion had inspiring, I would think he would be a good choice. But as it is, I'm not sure he's that optimal, as it were. Depends what kind of list you're running, I suppose, and whether there's a role for a creature like. You can get flanks with him, then I suppose he's pretty tasty. Compared to, for instance, the Half-Breed Champion, who doesn't really care about whether you charge someone in the flank. Anything else to comment on from this list? Decimator Horde, I've seen people have success with them. This probably wasn't the ideal opponent to be facing with them, though. With the range being the enemy's charge range, being slower than all the enemy units. The Grotesques I really like, but they didn't get a chance to do much in this game because my opponent rightly saw them as a threat and targeted them, wavered them early on, and then managed to kill them entirely next time. Just massed fire. And with their speed 7, again, if you want to charge Ogres, then you have to get to within range of their breath attacks. Or their boomer, which technically is attacking. You know what I mean? You have to get within range of the boomers shooting you to charge them. So that's always a dangerous move. See, Raphael says, will you be playing Kings of War Armada? Is there a faction you would like to collect and play? I would imagine I'll probably play it at some point. It doesn't immediately grab me and say you must play this right now because there's a lot of stuff going on. And I've got a lot of other projects ongoing as well. But I'm sure I will check it out at some point. If there's a specific faction I'd be interested to see in ship form, maybe the Dwarves. I think they're either pictures are out there or at least some artwork is out there. I think I've seen some dwarven looking ships. I think they would be fun. And I'll have to check out how it plays first as well. Because it's from, I think the main guy behind the rules, the same person who created Vanguard, if I'm not incorrect. And there are a few aspects of Vanguard that I'm not a huge fan of. So I'll have to see how it plays first. And it's also apparently somewhat based on a rule system from another company with some tweaks on it to simplify it and amp up the fantasy. So, who knows? I'll have to speak to some people who have played it already. And I'll have to give it a go when it hits and see if I like it. I'm not going to immediately just buy into it, though. It's got to win me over. So, another thing as well. These battle reports. Ideally, I would like to be doing one battle report a week. It is possible for me to do that, theoretically, unless the country is plunged into lockdown. Under those circumstances, it would be slightly more difficult. So, if there is not a countrywide lockdown in effect, or at least there's no lockdown in this region, then theoretically I can do a battle report a week. However, if you want to see that, you should show your intent by following Mr. Arrow and sending me huge bundles of cash at this here. There's a link to the Patreon in the description if you want to see more consistent battle reports. Everyone is starved of them at the moment. Everyone's just been looking at horrible pixely images on Universal Battle for the last 6 months. If you want to see real miniatures, real tactical insight, real games, masked face to masked face, then you know what to do. And over the dough, buddy. Don't forget to check out all the other links in the description as well, including Twitter, the Facebook group, Discord server. Don't forget to check out Radbat Designs to see the creator of a lot of the fancy new graphics that have been on this channel. For example, the Andy and Rem Show logo, and a lot of the fancy overlays that you see on the shows now as well. Just ramping up the production values. Let's see what else. So the next game, which is also Abyssal Dwarves vs Ogres, but with vastly different lists, you can see that next week. Ideally, I would like to do a battle report every Monday. try and fit this regular time slot to try and build a bit of an audience. So if that is possible, that would be great. So don't forget to like the video, of course, and subscribe if for some unearthly reason you haven't already. And let's have a look at the thumbnail here. Any tactical insights that you glean from that, don't forget to drop it in the description. Let me know which armies you'd like to see in the games, and anything that you learned from that, any mistakes that you think were made rules-wise or tactics-wise, then let me know. If you want to see front-on pictures of the Abyssal Dwarf army, then I think I've got a couple of showcase videos on them on the channel, since you're only seeing pictures from the rear mostly in this game. And that is pretty much it. So, thanks for watching, everybody. Don't forget, check out more content on this channel, because it's just an endless stream of juicy goodness flowing forth all over your wargaming taste buds. With that image burned into your mind, all that remains to be said is good night out there, whatever you